Welcome back to the show. Today, we are going to carry on the conversation about receiving. And this was something that we spoke about in the last episode. But this is actually something that popped up twice right after I recorded that episode. So I went, okay, there must be a sign that we need to talk about this. So, is guilt blocking your ability to receive? And there's a phrase called receiver's guilt. And I had a beautiful guest on my podcast her name is Kim Hamer. She will be on later this year. And she speaks on supporting HR companies and employees and people in what to do with loss and grief. And it was such a beautiful, powerful conversation. But one of the things that she mentioned was receiver's guilt. And it's this piece that we feel guilty for receiving. Like we want to be able to receive, but we feel guilty for being able to receive, or we completely block ourselves. So I just wanted to do a quick episode on this today and share a couple thoughts that hit for me when I started to do some reading into it. And according to the last episode, as I shared, giving and receiving are the two opposite sides of the coin, right? They go together. If you think that you're a great giver, but you don't allow yourself to receive, you're not even giving to the capacity that you could give to. They go together. They have to go together. And if you want to become a better giver, then it's important to learn how to receive. But if you're not feeling worthy to receive, then it's going to block you from receiving all that is available for you. Worthiness is a very interesting, like self-worth is something that nobody wants to say that they experience issues with. Yet I bet I could say everyone at some point in their life has experienced self-worth issues, increase limiting belief issues, all of these pieces that make us that little low subconscious voice that's always speaking about who are you to, or you're not worthy of this, or what makes you so special, or you're afraid of failure, or all of the things that go with self-worth. And so when it comes to these pieces of changing our self-worth story, I do believe that there's a lot of different ways to do it. And it takes practice, and it's literally an ongoing thing for a lot of us that we're doing in our life. Even if you didn't have a difficult childhood, there still might have been some inherent words or phrases or things or messages that you took that made it seem like, I feel guilty for receiving, or who am I to do this? Or I don't need that, so don't be selfish. And that just creates this feeling of you don't deserve that. Like you don't deserve that. Or if you look online and you see what other people are creating in their life and business, you're like, wow, I don't deserve the success that she does. We all do. We absolutely all do. And this is a really important piece to, especially like whether it's life, business, relationships, all of it. The ability to receive is so important because there's going to be lots of opportunities in your life where you have the opportunity to receive, but if you're blocking it, it's not coming. It's just not coming. So we want to create that change here. Now, I want to give this one definition. This is a Brene Brown definition. Guilt is defined. Oh, no. Shame is a focus on self, right? So shame is I am bad. Guilt is I did something bad. So I want you to picture guilt as something like you were actually carrying. And I'm going to pick on women for a second. A lot of women that I speak with, they feel guilt for things that it just doesn't, they don't need to. Like it's something that we're doing. I did this. And it's an easy, slippery slope to fall into. So if you feel guilty for taking time for yourself, if you feel guilty for asking for help, if you feel guilty for showing that maybe you don't have your shit all together, and that's okay. But if you feel guilty for those things, you're holding on to this guilt. And I want you to think of it like a ton that you're carrying. And when you're holding on to that guilt, what it's doing is like, it's just anchoring you into this shame story, this like feeling of self that you're not good enough to be able to hold something. So if that is the truth in your heart and in your gut and in your soul, that you don't deserve to be able to have whatever it is that you desire, if you feel that, Guilt is creating this anchor in you. And then that is building onto this shame feeling of self. It's pretty impossible to actually allow yourself to receive if that's the driving force. Like it really is. I often joke around, but I say the universe could come to your door with exactly what you asked for, but you're like in this cycle of self-worth shame feeling that it's like, oh no, I can't take that. So you are blocking receiving. And I think it's really important. So let's just chat a little bit about this is like what these lack of worth feelings, these worthiness feelings that we have, how can we rewrite them? There's a lot of different ways. It's not as simple as just saying an affirmation. It really isn't. If you want to change your experience, your subconscious beliefs, it requires like actually the awareness to look at, wait, that's actually something I have believed in, even though I want to say that I don't, but we all do. So we look at it and go, that is something I have to own. That is mine. I actually did believe this and do this without shame. And then look at what is the cost of continuing to believe that belief? What is the cost of it? What is it actually going to block you from? What's it going to not allow you to do? And then you paint such a negative, difficult picture, you almost have to, so that your conscious mind can look at it and go, that's not what I choose. So how I've done this myself is that when I have times that this shows up, I stop and think, where would I be today if I decided not to do the scary thing and share my story 7-8 years ago? Where would I be? If I believed what I believed then, where would I be? And I will paint the picture of all the people I didn't get to meet now, all of the work I didn't get to do, all of the experiences, all of the opportunities, the books, the podcasts, the people I've met, the clients. What would life look like? And it becomes so grim that it actually like feels so gross inside of me that that's not what I want. And then I just take that and I project it into the future and say, like, do I want to have that attitude 5 years from now? I don't, because I can't imagine like all of the things that will block me from receiving. So that's how we start to overcome those limiting beliefs and these lack of self-worth beliefs that we're carrying. And then you rewrite it in a new sentence. So this is how you can rewrite some of those thoughts. And I just honestly, I have mantras that I say every day. It's like the incredible people and opportunities come my way every single day. And I am open and allowing myself to receive them. And so when we're in this space, it's so important that you allow yourself to receive all that is available for you. Now, it's not as simple as mantras. It's not as simple as writing it. You actually have to practice it every single day until your body, your subconscious mind believes and knows that this is possible and available for you. And if you're like me, I'm 52. I have spent a lot of my life believing some of these limiting beliefs. It takes work and practice and continuous work and practice in order to create change. Now, the last thing I want to say on this piece is guilt blocking your ability to receive is, can you give like gratitude? I want to talk about gratitude and guilt together for a second. Okay. So can you give to someone else like with gratitude and have no expectations? Or are you the person who gives and then says like, no one does anything for me? It never comes back around. That's an expectation. And if you're holding on to an expectation while you're giving, you're actually not giving with a grateful heart. You're giving and hoping that something comes back around to you. No judgment. It happens, right? We've all spent time in this, but I just really want to increase your awareness here. If you are giving with expectations attached to it, you're not coming from the most grounded, grateful space. And if that's the case, you're probably not receiving with the most grateful space and energy, which also means that you're going to be carrying some guilt, some anger, resentment, some low vibe emotions, and that is going to be blocking you from allowing yourself to receive all that is available. When you get to a space, what happens actually is like as gratitude starts to increase, guilt starts to decrease. And if guilt starts to decrease, you are in a space of allowing yourself to receive so much better than you were before. It's not like a quick one and done. This is an exercise. This is a practice that we do. But I want you to get curious. If you're like, but you don't understand, I have all this guilt. And it's interesting because years ago, I had clients would say to me, well, she makes me feel guilty all the time. And I would say, and I say this with love because I'm a bit of a smart ass. How does she do that? What does she do? And they'll explain it over and over. I'm like, no, actually, what is she doing? Like, is she making you feel guilty or are you choosing to feel guilt? And more often than not, we are choosing to feel guilty. We are doing that to ourselves. So when we recognize that we are doing that, the beautiful thing is that we are the person who can create the change. So let's do that. Let's change this. One of the simplest ways is that when somebody pays you a compliment, say thank you, not thank you. Oh, this old thing, or thank you. Oh, you know, you look amazing too. Can you say thank you and pause? That's a practice in receiving. If it makes you incredibly uncomfortable, then you really need to practice sitting and receiving, right? If it makes you really uncomfortable. And one of the other things that happens here is like, how can we celebrate ourselves? Celebrating ourselves, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm boasting. But no, it's actually celebrating, like we are giving others permission to see what is possible. So all of these things go in hand and they allow us to let go of that guilt, change the self-worth story, and allow ourselves to receive it. And I do believe deep down that when we start to see what we are capable of receiving and all that is available and how we are safe and supported, now that starts to open up even more opportunities to receive. And when we can receive and allow ourselves to receive, we can actually give with more compassion, more love in from that space, not expect anything back. And it creates this beautiful cycle, a healed cycle of really being in this space of giving and receiving with no expectations and allowing ourselves to receive all that is available. So if this message spoke to you, I would love to hear it because I know it's a bit of a trigger word when it comes to guilt and receiving, but I want you to be in a space of allowing yourselves to receive, because when you do, you're going to see so much more how you are supported and how people are there cheering you on. And if you don't feel like they are, it's time to continually expand that circle because there's incredible people and opportunities everywhere, everywhere. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your shares. Continue to tag me on social media, follow us on our YouTube channel. And I'm just grateful. Honestly, I am receiving and I am grateful that you are here. Have a great day.